of two Palestinian men in the occupied West Bank, describing it as an apparent summary execution. The incident occurred in Jenin, where despite the men's surrender, Israeli forces opened fire, claiming that the individuals were affiliated with a terror network. Human rights groups, including B'Tselem, have condemned the actions as an execution. The Israeli military has launched an investigation, while National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir has publicly defended the actions of the security forces. The Palestinian Authority has labeled the killings as a war crime. With us on the broadcast is Mr. Shasha Machta, political commentator, joining us from Tel Aviv. Thank you so much for taking out time and speaking to us on NewsX World. Of course, the United Nations coming out and giving a reaction to the recent killing that has taken place in Jenin in the West Bank. Israeli forces are, of course, probing the current incident, but we have seen a defense by Itamar Ben-Gvir, who's justified this particular killing. In light of all of this, in your assessment, even if those who were involved, because they were surrendering and they had in fact, removed their upper clothes as well, and they did lay down their arms, should then have due process of law being followed in this particular case, rather than, as the United Nations has pointed out, a summary execution?
Yeah, so first of all, let's clear up who these two men were. The Palestinian Islamic Jihad has actually claimed responsibility for these two men. So they were, of course, part of this terror network that was building bombs and planning terror attacks against the state of Israel. That's why Israel carries out so many raids in the West Bank and in Jenin to, of course, protect its people. But yeah, the video of the execution, of the shooting, was concerning to everyone. It is, of course, something that will have to be investigated, and it is being investigated in the IDF. The IDF, of course, carries out probes and investigations to any hints or any indications of misconduct by its soldiers. This is one of the strengths of the Israeli democracy and of having IDF, of having an army in a democracy. The killing itself, it's a very, very complicated situation. Of course, nobody should be killing someone once they have surrendered. At the same time, so the soldiers themselves have claimed that they still felt endangered. So it's very hard to understand what exactly has happened, and this will require a probe and an investigation before actually labeling it as a war crime or labeling it as some blank execution. So we're just gonna have to wait and see what the results of this probe are, and of course it will be investigated and legal action will be taken. Regarding the defense by people like Ben-Gvir, it's very complicated to point fingers at soldiers nowadays in Israel after the trauma we've faced for 2 years, after the terror and suffering after October 7th, and after seeing so many terrorists, both in Gaza and the West Bank, planning and plotting the next massacre of Israelis and of Jews. It is a very traumatic thing to label soldiers as criminals. And of course, if this is the case, and if the investigation actually shows misconduct, then there will be no problem in doing so. But it's a very, very, very problematic and controversial thing to do, to point fingers before this investigation in Israel domestically, just because of all the sacrifice that the soldiers have made and everything they've gone through. And for now, they've said that they felt at risk and that the terrorists might have taken action against them. So we're just gonna have to wait and see what the investigation is gonna come out with.
All right, so requesting you to stay on with us. We're tracking some further updates, this time from the United Kingdom. We're learning that thousands of people gathered in central London